After news reports on June 22nd were released stating New York rapper Lil T Jay was left in critical condition in an altercation where firearms were used, the entire hip-hop world was left speechless. Not too long after, it was announced Lil T Jay was in critical condition and undergoing surgeries. This is where 6ix9ine replied to the official report with laughing emojis, mocking the situation with T Jay as they have had small beefs here and there. This then led into French Montana saying, "Pray for my lil bro Lil T Jay," leading to Quando Rondo stating, "Boy, life too short, I swear." To then 2K Baby saying, "You strong soldier, praying for you." Now with rappers reacting to Lil T Jay's incident, the streets are also talking, sharing what actually happened on that day. Here's where YouTuber Hassan Campbell comes in. Popular YouTuber with connections in the streets got a different word of what really happened to Lil T Jay. Follow along. He mentions the police is covering up this entire thing for the hotel property that this happened on. In the police reports, it mentions that he was in a Chipotle parking lot, even though it was in a hotel parking lot that had a Chipotle inside. Now Hassan mentions that Lil T Jay was sitting in a parked vehicle outside of a hotel in New York. Lil T Jay was sitting in the parked car with his cousin Bubba. The third friend wasn't in the vehicle. Instead, the third friend was upstairs in the hotel room, using the restroom at a very convenient time. When the situation all broke down, he was still in the bathroom, which is very interesting. The suspect, Mohammed, who initially ran up on Lil T Jay, was also affected by a firearm. The police labeled him as the main suspect, but the feds also mentioned that Mohammed did get affected by one of Lil T Jay's boys with a firearm, but Hassan is claiming that that is not true. The firearm that affected Hassan was actually from his own crew. Hassan mentions there was multiple men with firearm trying to run up on Lil T Jay. One of them in the back accidentally did it to Mohammed, who was the front man. When Mohammed fell to the ground, one of the suspects going after T Jay then tried to pick up Mohammed, dragging him through the bushes to their vehicle that was parked on the other side. Now this does explain the mulch all over Mohammed's clothing and how his shoes got stuck in the bushes and left in the parking lot when he arrived to the hospital. Now all while this was going down, the third friend is still in the bathroom of the hotel. This raises the question of, was Lil T Jay targeted and did T Jay's friend set him up? Hassan is very connected to the streets. Personally, I believe him more than the feds' reports on this situation. The feds released their own report about the Lil T Jay incident. You tell me who you believe more, Hassan or the feds? According to the feds reports, in Edgewater area of New Jersey, on June 22nd, Lil T Jay alongside two friends named Jeffrey Valdez and Antoine Boyd were ran up on in a Chipotle parking lot. As Lil T Jay and his two friends were inside of their vehicle, suspect Muhammad K, age 27, ran up on Lil T Jay, driving in a BMW with another driver. Muhammad was holding his firearm near his waistband with his window down, demands Lil T Jay to give up his diamond-studded Rolex alongside his chains. After Lil T Jay and his boys refused, Muhammad is seen leaving his white BMW vehicle, walking over to Lil T Jay's window, raising up his firearm so it's visible. Muhammad then once again demanded to give up Lil T Jay's jewelry. T Jay was not going for it. With emotions running high, allegedly one of T Jay's friends then makes a sudden move inside of the vehicle. This made Muhammad start using his firearm towards T Jay and company. Lil T Jay, being the closest to Muhammad's window inside of the vehicle, took a majority of the damage from Muhammad. One of Lil T Jay's friends, who was allegedly his cousin, was also affected during this situation, but not nearly as bad as T Jay. The third friend Lil T Jay was with then brought out his firearm, retaliating against Muhammad while he was trying to sprint away, as he was then defending his boys, especially Lil T Jay, who was in very bad condition. Muhammad was then seen falling to the ground as T Jay's boy connected a few. He was trying to get back inside of his car. That's when the driver of the BMW had to step out of the car and grab Muhammad, dragging him across the parking lot onto the curb and over the mulch. This is how the mulch got all over his clothing. Meanwhile, an ambulance was already on the way to help Lil T Jay and his friend. The BMW is then seen speeding out of the driveway, going straight to the local hospital to drop off Muhammad at the front steps. Muhammad arriving to the hospital with no shoes on, as well as his clothes covered in mulch and dirt from being dragged on the ground. The ambulance then arrives and tries to save Lil T Jay, which was successful. T Jay was then arriving to his hospital in serious critical condition. Thankfully, paramedics and doctors were able to get the processes done fast, which upgraded T Jay from critical to stable condition. Now here's where the story gets interesting. Lil T Jay being rushed to the hospital the same way as Muhammad in New York City. There's cameras everywhere. You really can't commit a crime like this anymore these days without being caught within a week. Now luckily, Muhammad was caught within an hour. As mentioned earlier, Muhammad was affected by T Jay's boy while trying to run away. In the process of running away, his shoes fell off and he was covered in mulch that was near the curb. As he fell to the ground into the mulch, allegedly nothing else really happened with firearms, as T Jay's boy, who was retaliating, most likely stopped to check up on T Jay. But this is when the driver for Muhammad stepped out of his car and dragged him into the BMW. It's important to note, the driver did not pick up Muhammad's shoes that he was wearing. His shoes was left in the parking lot, which was later claimed by the feds. And with Muhammad arriving to the local hospital with no shoes on and covered in mulch, those two statements were written on his paperwork that was then later given to the feds. The police then realized it's the same mulch that was found at the crime scene and that he showed up to the hospital with no shoes on. So when you put one and one together, you got your guy. This was an open and shut case within an hour. Muhammad is being charged with attempted armed robbery, and firearm offenses. But the feds' report on the situation seems a little iffy after when you hear Hassan's. But there's a major update in Lil T Jay's health where it now gets interesting. Now once arriving to the hospital, an emergency surgery was started. This helped Lil T Jay go from critical to stable condition. This is great news. But the concerning part is that T Jay has still not woken up. There was reports of during a small period of time where Lil T Jay was moving his feet inside of his bed. Medical reports were then released of where T Jay was affected. Now doctors announced they are worried about a few things about T Jay. Dr. Raheem Smith said there's a chance Lil T Jay will be paralyzed for the rest of his life. Now he was hit 5 to 7 times in the chest area, having damage to his lungs as well as 2 in the spine. Doctors fear the spine could cause issues for him the rest of his life once he does wake up. It is important to note, however, no one knows if he is truly paralyzed or not. It was just trending on Twitter. So just don't believe everything you hear on Twitter. If you are sitting there praying for Lil T Jay, leave a like on this video. I'm curious how many Lil T Jay fans are watching today. If you're new, hit the subscribe button. Anyways, I'm out.